Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakaupatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ajanulambita Pujo Kanakavadata Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalayaksha Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palavande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavatara Yantah Pravishya Mamavachim Imam Prasuptam Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Darasvadhamna Anyamscha Hasta Charana Shravanat Vagadim Pranannamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Svasyastu Vishwasya Kalah Prasidatam Deyantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodiyam Manascha Badram Bhajata Tadoksaje Aveshyatam no Matir Apyahai Tuki. So we're trying to deliberate on a very important topic. Perhaps one of the most important topics. What is the pure devotional service? How to achieve pure devotional service? What is the fastest and most direct way to achieve pure devotional service? Actually, most of our problems in the society, in ISKCON and in any other Vaishnava society, is that this idea of pure devotional service and the results of pure devotional service in terms of bhava and prema, in the course of time becomes untenable, little elusive. We talk about it, but we don't see it so much around us. And therefore we try to, use the devotional service for some other purposes. To get some power, some prestige, some adoration, some material facilities, this and that. And devotional service definitely gives these facilities, there's no doubt about it. But the shift in the motivation only takes place because we lose faith in the devotional service, in pure devotional service as the process and as a result. We don't really make it as a tangible goal of our life. And therefore, naturally, we set some other goals and try to achieve these goals and may achieve these goals. But ultimately, we're cheating ourselves and we're cheating others. Because we're talking about pure devotional service, that's the talk, that's comme il faut, this is what we're supposed to do here. But we don't see really and we don't practice ourselves. Therefore, it's very important again and again and again to come back to this topic and to analyze oneself first and foremost. Everyone else, yes, we have to give instructions, but if we only think that we have to give instructions to others and not to give instructions to ourselves, we become hypocrites. If I'm here sitting in front of you and thinking I'm teaching you, it's very hypocritical, because actually I'm not teaching you, I'm teaching myself. I'm trying to analyze myself and see what's going on within my heart. Whether I fit to the ideal of pure devotional service, or where I am actually in reality, and how far I am from this ideal of pure devotional service. Anyway, so we started with this topic, and we described two very common varieties of impure bhakti, which Srila Jiva Goswami calls aropa-siddha-bhakti, which basically means attributive bhakti, or superimposition of bhakti on some activity. And another one is sanga-siddha-bhakti, some activity which we think will help us to perform pure devotional service, whereas in reality pure devotional service does not require any other aids or any other additional processes to be successful. So just to remind very quickly what is aropa-siddha-bhakti and what is sanga-siddha-bhakti. Aropa-siddha-bhakti, basically any activity which results of which we offer to the Supreme Lord. And sanga-siddha-bhakti is the activity which by its very nature is not the service, is not a devotional service, but it can help to a certain extent, or we may think that it will help us. For example, the philosophy, I'm not this body. I'm not this body has nothing to do with service. Whether I am body or not, I am not going to serve. I may not be the body. Still, this understanding doesn't make me a positive servant. I'm not serving, even if I think I'm not this body. So, but, to a certain extent, this understanding, having this in mind, may help us to be more focused in our devotional service. So these two types of bhakti, aropa-siddha-bhakti and sanga-siddha-bhakti, differ from each other in two very important ways, which we have to understand. What is the difference between aropa-siddha and sanga-siddha-bhakti? First difference is that in case of aropa-siddha-bhakti, the activity itself can be completely useless in terms of its utility for pure devotional service. It can be anything. It may have nothing to do with devotional service whatsoever, whereas sanga-siddha-bhakti, it's somewhat helpful. It's somewhat connected with devotional service in one way or another. And another very important difference between these two types of bhakti is that when I execute aropa-siddha-bhakti, I don't remember about the Lord during the execution of this activity. But at the end of it, or in the beginning of it, when I say, oh my Lord, please take the results of it, I remember about the Lord. Krishnarpanamastu. Idam Krishna, idam namama. This is not mine, this is for Krishna. But I may not remember about the Lord whatsoever. But whereas when I execute sanga-siddha-bhakti, I still remember about the Lord. I still remember about devotional service. I may do something which is beneficial for my execution of devotional service, and I, to a certain extent, remember, yes, I'm doing this because ultimately I want to become a better servant. I want to become more focused in my devotional activities, this or that. So that's the difference between the two, and in this way sanga-siddha-bhakti is better than aropa-siddha-bhakti, attributive devotion. when we just say, this is, this is for you, the Lord. So, then the question, Srila Jiva Goswami asks a very important question. Why do people try to mix? Why the devotees who have certain faith in the process of devotional service, in the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc., Archanam specifically, why do people still cannot really execute pure devotional service? Why they always try to mix something? Why we always want to do some bhakti kichri, not just, pure bhakti. So the first reason, very important, and we will get into some details about this today, is that people do this because they have some separate desire. They want to fulfill some specific desire. And they think that for fulfillment of this specific desire, not necessarily the desire to serve the Supreme Lord, for fulfillment of this desire, some other processes they think is more quick, beneficial, direct, and so on and so forth. Like, for example, you have some troubles, you are in the middle of sadhasati, and you are a devotee, but still you are suffering from transit of Saturn over your moon, and your mind is disturbed. So you go to Shanidev and you say, my dear Shanidev, please free me from these disturbances. And then we say to Krishna, and I will definitely do it because I want to serve to you. We will remember at one point that Krishna is also there, not only Shanidev. So that's one reason. And another reason, second reason, is that people don't have, or devotees who execute devotional service, don't have the complete faith in the process of devotional service. We think that, admixture of some other processes may make the whole methodology, technique of devotional service more effective, so to speak. So that's another reason. The very vivid example of this is this brahmachari whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drove away from his kirtan, because this brahmachari, he was a devotee of some sort, definitely, but he was more believing in drinking milk than in chanting Hare Krishna. And therefore he was very proud that I am only drinking milk, and chant Hare Krishna, of course. So drinking milk has become only milk. This diet has become an integral part of his devotional service, so to speak. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not happy with this. He actually was very angry at him, because he was yelling at him. You think that by drinking milk you will go back home, back to Godhead? It's ridiculous, By drinking milk you may become a calf, not somebody else. But when this particular devotee manifested the genuine humility after being chastised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he actually accepted this chastisement with a very humble heart and with a very happy heart, when he has become happy that he was chastised, that is definitely a manifestation of pure devotional service. Because if we are impure and somebody is chastising us, we will never be happy. No matter who it is, even if it is the Supreme Personality of God Himself. We will be very, very upset with this person, and we will think, of leaving devotional service altogether, because all these people, they don't understand how great I am and this and that. So when this devotee, this brahmachari in Sriva Sangam, he manifested this genuine gratitude and humility and purity of the heart, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, come back. You're eligible for pure devotional service. So that's very important. This reaction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very important, because he is not happy when we are doing all this kind of mixtures and khichdi from the pure devotional service. To finish this topic about aropa-siddha and sanga-siddha-bhakti, I wanted to say that there are, to state something very important, which Srila Jiva Goswami says. He says that both aropa and sanga-siddha-bhakti acceptable and even useful to a certain extent, but there should be two conditions fulfilled for this mixed processes of devotional service, or mixed activities of devotional service, to be useful in the path of devotional service. The first condition is that we have to have proper motive. If the motive is proper, if I want to become closer to God, if I want to become the better servant of God, if really this is the motive, then it's okay. And the second one, very important, they can become useful if we execute them under the guidance of one very experienced devotee. Like Srila Prabhupada, he freely engaged his disciples in aropa-siddha-bhakti or in sanga-siddha-bhakti to a certain extent. He knew it's necessary, but at the same time he was so expert, and in the proper times he would purify the motivations and so on and so forth. For him it was not a problem, but sometimes when we do it on our own without the proper guidance, that may become very poisonous. That may become very contaminating for our devotional service or devotional motivation, or for even, it may destroy completely the purity of heart, because we will, use the benefits of this aropa-siddha-bhakti, sanga-siddha-bhakti, and forget about pure bhakti. So that's two conditions: proper motivation and proper guidance, guidance of experience. Then he can do, when Srila Prabhupada told Jayapataka Maharaj, when Jayapataka Maharaj was complaining that he's disturbed in dealing with these Bengali workers, Bengali construction workers, by when they were building long building, and Jayapataka Maharaj said, I just cannot, I just want to give it up and run away somewhere and chant my japa. Srila Prabhupada said, no, this is your bhajan. So Prabhupada has the right, and he knows how to do this, and he knows when it should be stopped and this and that. But we should be very careful when it comes to all these kinds of things, especially when they become prevalent in our practices of bhakti, when they become dominant or very prominent in our practices. It's a matter of concern. If they start overshadowing the process of devotional service, pure devotional service, swarupa-siddha-bhakti, it's a matter of grave concern. So now we come to the topic of swarupa-siddha-bhakti, the third type of devotional activities or devotional practices, because we are talking about practices specifically. We are trying to understand sadhana tattva. What is the truth of sadhana, when sadhana becomes real sadhana, not sadhana bas, not the shadow of sadhana. You know, the aropa-siddha-bhakti and sanga-siddha-bhakti can become, it's a shadow of sadhana. Sadhana bas or bhajana bas. It's not real bhajan. Although, again, it can be employed under certain circumstances. So, I already gave the definition, but I'll repeat it. Svarupa-siddha-bhakti is the activity which by its very nature is the service to the Lord. And being such, being the service to the Lord, this kind of activities like Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, Padasevana, Archana, Vandana, Dasya, Sakya, Atmani Vedana, being the service by its very nature, they have Vastu Shakti. Every Vastu, every substance in this world and in a spiritual world has some Shakti. Specific Shakti which is specific to this Vastu. And this specific Shakti, like for example, if we take a medicine, in chemical medicine, allopathic medicine, on the box of this medicine, we will see the description of Vastu Shakti of this particular medicine. This medicine is good to destroying this and this and this and this conditions, and it will also bring this and this and this side effects. But it's basically, altogether, it's the description of Vastu Shakti. This is the Vastu, this is the substance, and this is what it can do. This is what it performs. And, like Vastu Shakti of a fire is to burn, Vastu Shakti of the water is to, liquidify things and to mix things together. This is what water is necessary. It's described in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is the Vastu Shakti of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, of the activities of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti? The Vastu Shakti of the activities of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti is Bhakti Poshaka. It nourishes our devotion. It nourishes our bhakti. We hear about the Lord, and our bhakti becomes stronger. We do some archana, our bhakti becomes stronger. We are talking, we are preaching, we are doing some kirtan. This process of nourishing our bhakti is taking place whether we know about it or not, whether we believe in this or not. This will take place because this is the Vastu Shakti, because this is an inherent potency of these processes. Our bhakti will become stronger. And that's what distinguishes Svarupa-siddha-bhakti from any other kinds of activities, which may also be bhakti, but not Svarupa. Svarupa-siddha-bhakti. So again, the other types of activities can be bhakti, no problem, but they not necessarily have this Vastu Shakti. So that's a very important point. Srila Jiva Goswami, he gives a very beautiful example of this Bhakti Poshaka. Very famous verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas and from Skanda Purana, ultimately from Prabhas Skanda of Skanda Purana. Madhura Madhuram etan Mangala Mangalanam Sakalani Gamavali Sat Phalam Chitsvarupam. Sakridapi Parigita Shradaya Helayava Briguvara Naramatir Matram Tarayat Krishna Nama. So whether you chant holy name with faith, Shradaya, or Helaya, with some, deriding attitude, it will act. Sakridapi, even if you do it once. So, Briguvara Naramatram, Tarayat Krishnama. It will help you to deliver from all sinful activities. And to illustrate this Vastu Shakti, that's the reason why Srila Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha and so many Puranas gives numerous examples of people who have no faith in devotional service. Somehow or other, accidentally, they perform devotional service and it has an effect. Like Prahlad Maharaj, in one of his previous lives, he was a drunkard who didn't believe in devotional service. He was in love with one prostitute, and they happened to be in the temple on Nrisimha Chaturdashi, and they were fasting the whole night because they were quarreling with each other. So, in one of the next time, he achieved such a great benefit. His bhakti was nourished so much that he became Prahlad Maharaj. So, this is the illustration of this Bhakti Poshaka Shakti, which is inherent to the acts of devotional service belonging to the category of aropa-siddha-bhakti. Now the question is, we're doing so many acts of this devotional service. We even have some faith in this devotional service. Why we don't experience all these amazing results? What was it? The fish, which the fish has become the four-handed associate of Lord Vishnu because it just touched Ganga. And we are not becoming the four-handed associates of Lord Vishnu. Of course, one reason is that we don't want to become four-handed associates of Lord Vishnu. But unfortunately, that's not the only reason why we are not becoming as such. The real reason is that even though the Vastu Shakti is there, it's invested, it's inherent, it's inseparable from the acts of devotional service in the form of hearing and chanting and so on and so forth. But this Vastu Shakti can be blocked, easily blocked. That's the problem. Like I already gave an example that the Vastu Shakti of the fire can be blocked. The Shakti in the fire to burn is there. But if we put green grass into the fire, the green grass will not be burnt immediately. Why? Because there is a blockage. And this blockage, vyavadhana, this is a very important point. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, in his poem about where he describes the deviations from Shatadushani, the refutation of different deviant forms of bhakti. He often, very often, most often uses this word, vyavadhana. Vyavadhana means the impediment, the blockage, the something which is blocking the power of bhakti to manifest. Basically, stopping the power of bhakti. So this vyavadhana or this blockages is the reason, the cause why we are not experiencing the full power of bhakti, because there is something which is weakening our bhakti, inherently weakening our bhakti, this acts of devotion. Otherwise, if these blockages were not there, we would not be here as well. We would be in the spiritual world frolicking with Krishna, no problem. But because these blockages are still there, we are not experiencing the full force of devotional service, even though formally we perform these acts of chanting and hearing and so on and so forth. You wanted to ask something, Sutapa Prabhu?
Thank you, Maharaj. I just thought to ask something based on aropa-siddha-bhakti and sanga-siddha-bhakti before you move on. Do you want me to ask now or later?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I already moved on.
Thank you, Maharaj, for these points. I just had something I was thinking about and just like a reflection on it. I think in the early days of the movement, we saw that the devotees were very much engaged in direct processes of bhakti and preaching and hearing and chanting. And then later on, what happened in the movement is that we saw that there was a lot of other things that devotees needed in their lives in order to survive for a lifetime. So, putting in a lot more emphasis on dharma, finding a varnashram dharma situation where they could be more stable. Even, for example, doing things like astrology for devotees to get married and these kind of things. And I'm just wondering how do we introduce these things in the society which we see are beneficial for devotees to have longevity in their spiritual practice without it becoming a compromise in the purity of bhakti that people seek. Because I know you mentioned the point that it should be done under the guidance of an advanced Vaishnava. But what we almost find in ISKCON is that these things become a culture. Any new person coming in just follows. So how do we incorporate these things without it becoming a compromise?
One very important reason why it's happening is that during Prabhupada's time, people had such a glaring example in front of them of somebody who embodied the pure devotional service. And therefore, having this example just in front of their eyes, they had a very strong faith in the power of devotional service. And this strong faith was instrumental of helping them to overcome all kinds of impediments. Now, without this strong faith, we need some aids, like you mentioned, astrology, varnashrama, this and that, which is not, strictly speaking, pure devotional service, but they may belong to the category of sanga-siddha-bhakti. They may be helpful for devotional service. So they can be introduced. First of all, we have to still emphasize again and again and again the power of pure devotional service. Srila Niranjana Maharaj, this is one of the most common and most important points of his preaching. He says that, when we preaching about the power of devotional service, of pure devotional service, when we're strengthening the faith of devotees and ourselves in the devotional service, this is the pure devotional service itself. We may not be pure, but to preach the glory of the pure devotional service is a pure devotional service because it helps us to be more focused in this process. It helps us to execute it with ekantata, with determination and this and that. So then these other processes, they will not overshadow or they will not they will not be a hindrance to the path of devotional service because everyone is established. And yes, for some certain help, we may, employ some other processes. But at the same time, it's very clear what we're doing, what we should do, and that other things is just temporarily like bandage, like, some aids, some subsidiary aids. But when this preaching, but sometimes people, they lose faith because they don't see how, and that's why this deliberation on Swarupa-Shakti-Bhakti, Swarupa-Siddha-Bhakti is so important. Sometimes we, even as a devotee, we lose faith. We sometimes think, no, without Varnashrama we cannot really do devotional service. There will not be result, or without this we will not do this. So we lose faith, and therefore in our preaching the emphasis becomes also shifted. We emphasize more these subsidiary things, secondary things. And it's more interesting, and in one sense it gives some, more immediate results maybe, and this and that. There are many reasons, and I've seen it, how it happens. The gradual shift goes on, and sometimes we become very shy to speak about the pure devotional service. Shy because we are not practicing it ourselves, so we don't feel like we have the right to preach about the pure devotional service. No, we have the right. This is our inherent right. We are in this parampara of pure devotional service. Therefore, we should preach pure devotional service, whether we practice it ourselves or not. But it will help us. It will help us to become more focused in pure devotional service. Otherwise, all these other subsidiary, secondary things will proliferate unlimitedly, and ultimately, they will totally, completely obscure the pure devotional service. It will just disappear from the surface of the earth. This is what is happening in every religion. Every religion starts as a very pure revolutionary movement with a very pure ideals, with a very, high ideals of serving God. And then after, couple of centuries, and in our case, it may happen even quicker because of the internet, The first Christians, they didn't have internet, and, and that was their good luck. In our case, it may happen very quickly because so many mixtures are there. Therefore, it's so important to remind ourselves and to do this. This is my solution. And of course, if we see in front of our eyes the examples of devotees who practice pure devotional service and become completely successful in this process, that's the most important. Like Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. His example is actually such an important factor in the devotional lives of so many people, so many devotees, even now, because sometimes, we think, okay, Prabhupada was the Nitya Siddha, he was just specifically sent. This is, again, very dangerous philosophy, and who am I, So, in one sense, we should glorify Prabhupada, Nitya Siddha, but Srila Prabhupada himself, he never emphasized this point, because that may become very counterproductive for us. We have to understand that pure devotional service is achievable. It's real. It's not something which only Nitya Siddhas can practice. Therefore, whatever we can do, we can do. Sutapa Prabhu. I don't know if I answered your question. But Manayan Prabhu, you want to ask something? Is it connected with this, or I can continue and you will ask? Okay. Now I don't hear you because your microphone is muted.
Hare Krishna, Dandavas Maharaj. Maharaj, this is in regard to what we have been discussing.
Okay.
Like last topic. So we are discussing about the bhakti, vastu shakti
Okay.
of aropa-siddha-bhakti.
Yeah.
And you very clearly elaborated on the point by giving the example of Prahlad Maharaj, how from his previous life he became a devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev and became Prahlad Maharaj in the next life. So this is a clear example of how the Vastu Sakti of Swarup-siddha-bhakti nourishes our bhakti.
Yes.
So now the question is, Maharaj, when somebody is performing this, either aropa-siddha or sanga-siddha-bhakti, we took the example of in the aropa-siddha-bhakti, kayana vacha manasa indriyarva, where he performs, then he dedicates his result with a desire that I want to kind of become a devotee.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, in sanga-siddha-bhakti, we quoted from Bhagavad Gita 13 chapter 8 to 12 the qualities, that somebody is trying to cultivate this quality to why become kind of a better devotee, purify the consciousness. So in that way, Maharaj, what I see, there is some element of nourishment to bhakti is also seen there, so that this person is gradually getting a footing to become a performer of Swarup-siddha bhakti. So how do you kind of differentiate between
Yeah, thank you. Very clear. The act itself does not have this potency. What is nourishing the bhakti is the act of devotion which we do either by offering the results of this activity to the Lord or by meditating on the service of the Lord while performing these other activities. It's not that the act like, for example, the act of, meditating about the effects, what is this, janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha nudarshanam. This meditation on the problems of janma, mrityu, jara, and vyadhi is not the devotional act itself, and it doesn't nourish our bhakti. It nourishes our desire to be liberated. But bhakti is not being nourished. But if at the same time, while meditating on this miserable condition of material life, we're thinking about the ideal situation in the spiritual world when we serve the Lord, then it nourishes our bhakti. So only bhakti nourishes the bhakti. Only the act of service nourishes the tendency, the bhakti tendency within our heart and makes it stronger. And if this element of pure bhakti is mixed with other things, we may think that this is also nourishing our bhakti, but actually not. This element of bhakti nourishes our bhakti. Otherwise, bhakti is independent.
So there is a little bit, maybe the intensity of devotion that, here is directly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra or reading Srimad Bhagavatam, this kind of direct bhakti. Intensity is very high. But on the other two processes, the intensity is kind of almost invisible.
Again, the intensity is in the act of devotion which we invest into these activities. In activities themselves, there is no Vastu Shakti, but we are adding this mixture of bhakti by our consciousness, and in this way, this activity becomes also intensifies our bhakti as well. So it's only bhakti. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. Bhakti only depends on bhakti, nothing else. So
the motivation with which he performs, even though the intensity is less, that is also giving him some sort of higher footing and advancement to the highest standard of devotional service. That cannot be taken as a nourishment in devotional service, Maharaj?
Yeah, it's nourishment, but what is nourishing the devotional service? The bhakti is nourishing bhakti, nothing else. You cannot nourish bhakti by some chemical fertilizer, so something which has completely different nature. Bhakti can be nourished only by bhakti, and the element of bhakti which somehow or other is mixed into these activities by our consciousness helps our bhakti to become stronger. Anyway, let's go.
Just one last point.
You're relentless.
For example, when somebody is performing aropa-siddha or sanga-siddha-bhakti, maybe percentage of bhakti is like, maybe very negligible, 5% or 10%. And then in case of swarup-siddha, it is 100%. Therefore, we can see the nourishment of bhakti is very quick and very visible, something like that?
No. See, for example, I'm building a building. So many people build the buildings. It doesn't nourish their bhakti whatsoever. But if I'm building the building because my guru told me to build this building, and while building this particular building, I'm meditating on my guru, on the service of my guru, this and that, then my bhakti becomes nourished by the same process of building or constructing this building. So construction of the building itself is not nourishing my bhakti, but because there is an additional element in this construction, not only construction is there, but some sort of, the desire to please guru, desire to do something which is anukul to him, which is pleasing to him, then, by building this building, I may become a pure devotee, but normally it doesn't happen. If this would be the Svarupa Shakti of the process of building the building, then everyone who would build any building would ultimately become a pure devotee, but it doesn't happen. And it will never happen because that's a different, the nature of the activity does not have this Vastu Shakti because the Vastu is different and therefore the Shakti is different. The Vastu Shakti of Bhakti Poshaka is only in the acts of devotion, but it may think like this. We may think like this. It may seem like this, but it's actually not. Okay, let's go because we have so many important things. So we established this thing that the vyavadhan, or the blockage, something which is blocking the power of the acts of devotional service, is very important. And therefore we have to really understand what is this, what is blocking the acts of devotional service, the acts of bhakti, the acts of services actually. One more thing, interesting thing, going a little back. So I said that the acts of devotional service have the power to nourish our bhakti even if there is no phase, even if we perform them accidentally. But what does it mean? Does it mean that by performing bhakti, acts of bhakti accidentally, we may achieve the ideal of pure devotional service? The answer is categorical no. We may achieve some nitya sukriti, the eternal sukriti, eternal pious credits. But when this nitya sukriti, the special type of sukriti, undestructible sukriti, the sukriti which will not be destroyed by experiencing the results of this sukriti, unless, not the material sukriti which will be destroyed. When this nitya sukriti, this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Jaiva Dharma, will become strong, gradually it will turn into Shraddha. So without Shraddha, we cannot really achieve pure devotional service. Shraddha is the first step to the pure devotional service, but the acts of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, the activities of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti will give us nitya-sukriti. Nitya-sukriti help us to develop Shraddha in Ananya-bhakti, in pure bhakti. Because when we speak about Shraddha, the faith, we mean not any kind of faith. We mean the faith in pure devotional service, in Ananya Bhakti, unalloyed devotional service. And that, the faith in pure devotional service, will bring us in that association of pure devotees, sadhu sanga. So this is the process of achieving the pure devotional service. Yes, we may accidentally perform some acts, non-offensively perform some acts of devotional service. Then Shraddha in pure devotional service will develop, and then at one point, not immediately, when the Nitya Sukriti becomes very strong, and when it develops into faith, we will seek the association of pure devotees, sadhu sanga, and this sadhu sanga will bring us everything else. So that's how it works. And the example of this is Ajamil. Ajamil was doing these acts of pure devotional service without investing his consciousness into the acts of pure devotional service by calling Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. So then, at the moment of Vishnuduta, quarrel of Vishnudutas and Yamadutas, he developed faith in pure devotional service. But then he was not liberated at that point. Then he went to Haridwar. And in Haridwar, he went to Haridwar with a specific purpose to perform bhajan in the association of pure devotees, to develop the pure devotional service and go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, just by saying Narayan, 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 he could be elevated to the Vaikuntha, but not, anyway, he could be. That's not a problem, but the pure devotional service or love of God can only be developed in the association of those who have this love. And the mechanical acts of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti is not enough for this. That's what I wanted to say. Prangavinda Prabhu, little later, okay? Let me continue with the topic, and then we will have time. So, basically, what is blocking the power of Svarupa-siddha-bhakti is the element of cheating. When there is some Kaitava dharma, when we perform Sakaitava Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, this element of cheating is the blockage which is there and which deprives the acts of bhakti of its inherent power. Not deprives, but stops these acts of bhakti to really influence our internal situation. So this Sakaitava, the element, means basically that we use bhakti, practice of bhakti, for our own benefit, in our own interests. In other words, we are trying to exploit the spiritual energy of the Lord, the Bhakti Shakti of the Lord, to derive some benefit from this energy, to employ this energy in our, material pursuits. And this is being described in this 29th chapter of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we read in the beginning of our little seminar. This is basically what we usually call bhakti in the modes of material nature, bhakti in gunas. So little disclaimer from the very beginning. Bhakti cannot be in the modes of material nature, because bhakti is the Svarupa Shakti of the Lord. Svarupa Shakti of the Lord cannot be in devotion, in the gunas. There cannot be Svarupa Shakti of the Lord in Tamagun. Tamagun cannot influence Svarupa Shakti of the Lord. Rajagun cannot influence Svarupa Shakti of the Lord. Sattvagun cannot influence Svarupa Shakti of the Lord. And Bhakti is Svarupa Shakti. So there is no Bhakti in the gunas. But the consciousness of the performer of the acts of Bhakti, of Svarupa Shakti Bhakti, can be in the gunas. And therefore, his practice is in the gunas. Even though he performs the acts of pure devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. So he performs Svarupa Shakti Bhakti, Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, but because his consciousness is in the gunas, then the result of this performance will become different. It will not become the same result, the same powerful result, which is there, which can be expected from the acts of Svarupa Shakti, Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, performed without this element of cheating. So, and that's what being described in 3 very important verses of 29th chapter of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with the verse of number 8. So we will go into some details into these things, because it's very important for us to understand very clearly. But in the beginning, what Kapila Dev always repeats while describing these types of bhakti, these types of practice of bhakti, or actually not the types of practice of bhakti, but the characteristics of the consciousness of the performer. He says he is Bhinna Drik, Bhinna Bhava, and Prithak Bhava. He basically more or less the same, with different shades of meanings, but more or less the same. It basically, and Srila Prabhupada very consistently translates this as a separatist mentality. And what does it mean, separatist mentality? So this blockage is coming from this separatist mentality, Bhinna-drik, the separatist view, or Bhinna Bhava, separatist mentality, separatist mood, the mood of separatist. Basically, it means that somebody separates his interests from the interests of the Lord. That's what separatist means. And it's very common, because we all think that we know what is better for me. Isn't it? If somebody tells us, do this, it will be better for you, we may even nod our head and say, yes, 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 yes. But inside ourselves, we know, this is better for me, I know. I know myself. I don't need, anyone to tell me what I need. I know my interest. We are, conditioned living being, influenced by the modes of material nature, are in this illusion that we know what is good for us, what is within our interest. So that's the main problem. And because of this, we perform devotional service, and our interest in performing devotional service is to get something, rather than, we're not really thinking about the interest of the Lord, and we don't have this mentality that if He will be pleased, I will be happy automatically. If whatever I do is pleasing to Him, this is my greatest interest. If I somehow or other manage to please Him, this is the best thing which may happen with me. But instead we think, yes, I will do this, and I will try to please him because I want this, and that. But I will not tell anyone because anyabilasita shunyam. Don't tell about this. I don't have any other desires. But Krishna, you know what I need, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I will chant your name, no problem. If you want it, no problem. But be serious. I also need something. So this is separatist mentality. The separatist mentality is the internal mood when we separate our interest from the interest of the Lord. When we think that, I'll be happy separately from the Lord. If we think that I only be happy if the Lord is pleased with me, this is the pure mood. This is aprithak bhava. But if we keep our interest little separate, little separate. I need this, I need to achieve this. I need to come to this position. I need to become a sannyasi. That may be a very prominent motive, Instead of saying, Krishna, whatever you want, you know better what is good for me. My duty is to serve you, is to please you. Everything else which will happen automatically. If this mood is very prominent, then it's pure. But if we always keep separate interest in whatever we do, then the power of these acts of pure devotional service, like Shravanam and Kirtanam, will become less. And we will always be concentrated on the side effects of this. I need to get this derive this from that. And basically, again, not understanding that our interest and the interest of the Lord are inseparable. We are inseparable by nature. So that's the very important point. Anyway, so now let's quickly go through this 9 different kinds of motivations in 3 modes of material nature. Srila Prabhupada explains that there are 81 kind of impure devotional service, or the service in the mode of material nature, having in mind that the devotional service cannot be in the modes of material nature, but for the lack of better language, we say that he's performing bhakti in tamagun, bhakti in rajagun, although there cannot be bhakti in tamagun. So, and it basically means 9 processes of devotional service and 3 motivations for each mode of material nature. So, 3 modes of material nature, 3 motivations, 9 by 9 processes of devotional service. We have 81 kind of devotional service. So basically, Kapila Dev explains that in the modes of material nature, there can be 3 gradations of motives. It's not really one motive, it's the whole continuum of motives, but roughly we can divide it into 3 categories in each mode of material nature, and they're progressively more pure. In other words, there can be tamasic tamagun, there can be rajasic tamagun, and there can be sattvic tamagun. There can be tamasic rajagun, rajasic rajagun, and sattvic rajagun. And there can be tamasic sattvagun, rajasic sattvagun, and sattvic sattvagun. So that's the 3 things, usual gradation, kanishta, madhyama, and uttama. There can be lower kind of tamagun, the middle, intermediate kind of tamagun, and the highest, the best tamagun possible. So, and the same for Rajagun and the same for Sattvagun. That's what is there, and it's very interesting for our analysis and for our self-introspection. So, first of all, let's read the first verse. Abhisandaya yo himsam dambam matsaryam eva va samrambhi bhinadrig bhavam mai kuryat sa tamasaha. He is tamasic bhakta, sa tamasaha, saha tamasaha. First, very important word here, abhisandaya. The Sanskrit word abhisandaya means the intention, sankalpa, motivation. So, if the motive of a person or sankalpa, the determination behind the act of devotional service is of these three types, himsa, damba, and matsarya, then this is the three motivations in tamagun. But the performer of this devotional service is described here by two words, very important words, samrambhi and binadrik bhavam. Samrambhi means he is angry. He has some anger inside. You know, sometimes we can see devotees who are very angry. So this, they're really not very satisfied, and they are, you know, really manifesting their anger when necessary and not necessary, usually when it's not necessary. So they're not happy internally. That's a very important characteristic of the consciousness in tamagun. If we are not satisfied, it means that there is a very strong influence of tamas upon our heart. And binadrik, I already explained, his binadrik means his vision is separate. And Srila Jiva Goswami explains that binadrik means that this is somebody who only thinks about himself, and he does not really have the ability to feel the happiness and distress of other people. He's too much, you know, concentrated upon himself, and therefore he's not happy, because when our consciousness is limited, is very much, you know, surrounded by our own interests, we will never become happy. So this is a very important characteristic of tamasic personality. And when you are predominantly in this mode of material nature, you're always angry, you're always chastising others, you're very sensitive, somebody always you know, steps on your false ego and says something which you don't like, and you're ready to chastise them, you know. Sometimes sannyasis become this sort of people. So it's very dangerous, extremely dangerous, because it's a big offense. And in this tamasic personality type, actually it's interesting, in Ayurveda, in Charaka Samhita, I believe, there is a description of many different types of personalities. In Sattvagun, in Rajagun, and in Tamagun. I believe the one in Tamagun is called Matsya, and there are some bad words for them. And in Rajagun, there are some Rakshasa and this and that. So the mentality is very clearly explained there. And there are more types of sattvic mentalities according to the different, like Rishi type or Brahma type or whatever. And there are very clear characteristics according to the influence of the modes of material nature, how one will behave, and accordingly there are different kinds of treatments and different kinds of disease one develops due to this mentality of predominant influence of particular mode of material nature. So here it is said that in Tamagun there are predominantly three motivations, and the lowest one is himsa. Himsa basically means that you want to inflict pain to other people. You want to, you want to inflict suffering to other people. And we can see, so many religious wars were there. And still going on, the religious wars. What is religious war? One devotee wants to inflict pain to another devotee. They are fighting and they're all praying the same God. And what is their prayer? Let me kill my enemy. My dear Lord, please help me to kill this enemy. Please help me to inflict him pain, And everyone, and then whoever wins, then they say, God helped us, and he didn't help them. It's all ridiculous. It's absurd. It has nothing to do with God. It's all tamagun, tamasic, himsa. And, and we can see the examples of this in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the example of this tamasic bhakti is Indra himself. Indra, he is doing, or his mother Aditi. His mother Aditi is performing this, payavrata act of devotional service. This is vrata. This is a very high vrata. But for what? To get the children who will kill the enemies of Indra. It's just unbelievable. It happens. It's really, so Indra and Aditi wanted to kill Daityas, the sons of Diti. So, or Duryodhana, he also wanted to serve Krishna. He made such a royal reception to Lord Krishna when Lord Krishna came to Hastinapur to be the ambassador of Pandavas. But his idea of these acts of devotional service was he wanted to feed Krishna. He cooked the best food. There were some Sankirtan parties all over the city to please Krishna. What was his motivation? To kill Pandavas. This is himsa. This is the lowest kind of motivation, to inflict pain to somebody else. Then dambha. Dambha is the rajasic tamas. Dambha basically means the hypocrisy. I want to pose as somebody else. I want to pose as a saint. Let everyone think I'm a saint, and I'm trying to do something. This is the motivation. We're performing the acts of devotional service. We are chanting many, many rounds. We are, standing. We are fasting on Ekadashi. We are standing in neck deep water and chanting Gayatri and this and that. But ultimately, the idea is that, I am the saint. Let me become famous as a saint. So, and this is also very common phenomenon, because usually these people, dambic people who have this motivation, hypocritical motivation, because they want to be something else, which they are not really. They have very strong impetus to criticize others. Only I know what is pure devotional service. Nobody else knows what is pure devotional service. You should surrender unto me because only I am the pure devotee. I just recently I spoke with one devotee and he told me about his experience in life when he was really impressed by one devotee who was so scholarly, so knowledgeable, and but then after some time being in his direct circle of followers, he just noticed that he always, he just wants to really to get the followers, and he always criticizes others. Only I know what is pure devotional service, this and that. This is a very, hypocritical, this is the sign of hypocrisy, damba. I want to become something which I am not. I want to become famous for this. And of course, Ravana is a very good example. Ravana has become a sannyasi. He was a damba sannyasi. He was a cheater. He wanted to steal Sita Devi, but he poses as a saintly person to achieve his purposes. Very, very dangerous thing. And Indra, who wanted to destroy the sacrifice of Prithu Maharaj when Prithu Maharaj was performing the 99th, so the 100th sacrifice, Ashwamedha Yagya. So this is all thing. And then Matsarya is a very interesting thing. The third motivation. So Damba, then first Himsa, then Damba, and then Matsarya. The highest possible motivation in Tamagun is the envy when I become unhappy if somebody is doing better than myself. If somebody is a better sannyasi, if somebody is a better devotee, I become envious and I become jealous. If somebody is performing, chanting more rounds, if somebody is performing more austerities, and I become not happy and I try to show that I am better. So that's Matsarya. I am not inflicting pain on him, but I am unhappy. Instead of being happy that somebody is better than myself, at least if somebody is better than myself, then I have some hope. If there's nobody better than myself and I am not really up to the highest standard, then I don't have any hope. If somebody is better than myself, then he can help me, at least. So this is the Matsarya. It's better because we're not inflicting pain to anyone else, but at the same time we have this competitive spirit, very strong competitive spirit. Oh, this devotee, he's chanting 1 lakh. I will do 2 lakhs. Why 2 lakhs? Because he's chanting 1 lakh. If he would chant half lakh, I would chant 1 lakh, not because I like chanting. The pure motivation, chanting is so nice, Krishna is pleased with me. But no, I am chanting 2 lakhs because somebody else is chanting 1 lakh. So that's what it is. And, we can see, I've seen it in some other temples, especially in South India, when they have this Rathayatras every day was for the deity. And then, somebody comes and, there are usually different kinds of rathas. The golden rath, the silver rath, and the wooden rath. And somebody pays more money, and then, on his behalf, Krishna is being driven on a golden rath. Krishna is Krishna. He should always be driven on a golden rath, not on a. But this is the motivation. Or they come on Pariyaya and they do some special, very special offering to Lord Krishna. There is this element of competition. So this element of competition is, especially if behind this is some ill feeling towards some other person, whom I want to prove that he is inferior than myself. That's tamasic motivation. Of course, we can say that Srila Prabhupada also kind of was trying to ignite the spirit of competition, transcendental competition. But Srila Prabhupada again used this motivation, which is there within our heart, for us to be purified. But if we become not so careful, it may be very dangerous, you know. In the first years after departure of Srila Prabhupada, there was such an acute competition between certain devotees, and ultimately it was not so good. So that's this is the Uttama tamasic motivation. Now we come to Rajasic motivation, and in Rajasic motivation we have three motivations again: Vishayan, Yasha, and Aishwarya. Enjoyment, glory, or the honor, and Aishwarya. Aishwarya here means Ishvara Bhava. The word Aishwarya is coming from Ishvara. It basically means influence over people. Aishwarya may mean opulence, but Aishwarya also means the power. So the lowest motivation in Rajagun, enjoyment. I want to perform devotional service to get more facilities for enjoyment, to travel to some countries, to have some money in my pocket, and this and that. You know, the middle motivation is honor and respect, and the highest motivation in Rajagun is power, influence over people, over other people. So Srila Prabhupada writes about this in the purport. Mixed devotees or devotees in the modes of passion and ignorance think that the interest of the Supreme Lord is supplying the orders of the devotee. The interest of such devotees is to draw from the Lord as much as possible for their sense gratification. This is the separatist mentality. I want to exploit the Lord for my own interest, and I don't care whether he's happy or not. I'm doing this devotional service. When the so-called devotee desires material enjoyment without reference to the interest of the Supreme Lord, you may desire the enjoyment, but with the reference to the interest of the Supreme Lord. If the Supreme Lord is happy, I know I will be happy too. So his interest or his enjoyment is the first, and then the other one is the side effect. But if I'm desiring this material enjoyment without reference to the interest of the Supreme Lord, or he wants to become famous or opulent by utilizing mercy or grace of the Supreme Lord, he's in the mode of passion. So basically, Vishaya, the desire to enjoy, the example again is in Srimad Bhagavatam when Indra and demigods were churning the ocean of milk. They basically wanted more facilities and, to have the heavenly planets in their possession. Yasha, fame. Vishaya, Yasha, and Aishwarya, fame, obvious, no need to elaborate. And Aishwarya, power, Duryodhana, when he came before the war in Kurukshetra, he came to Krishna and he wanted Krishna's help, which is, in one sense, a devotional service, act of devotional service. He surrendered to the Lord. He was so humble. He was sitting next to him. He was begging him. What he wanted power. His motivation was power, not to please the Lord. Arjuna came with the same request. They both came to seek help from Krishna. So act was the same, motivation was different. Krishna was pleased with Arjuna and he said, I will be with you. And he was not pleased with Duryodhana. Even though it was exactly the same thing. They came exactly at the same tithi. Duryodhana a little earlier. But same situation. But Krishna was pleased with Arjuna because his motivation was pure. He said, I don't need your army, I need you. I need you to be with me. I need your, the facility to be near you. That's what I need. I don't care about anything else. And Duryodhana wanted power of Krishna. So that's Aishwarya. That's the third motivation in the mode of Rajagun. And very interesting, and I'm sure we can all, relate to all these motivations, which are sometimes hidden within our heart and sometimes not so hidden within our heart. If we are very pleased, if somebody is glorifying us and we are very pleased within our heart, it basically means that this motivation is there within our heart. If somebody glorifies us and we feel very sorry that they're, saying this, then it means that this motivation is not there. But if somebody is trying to give some honor to us and we become happy about this, that reveals the motivation within ourselves. And if somebody chastises us and we become unhappy about this, that also reveals the motivation, the wrong motivation. So it's a very common thing which Lord Kapila says. And therefore, because of all these motivations, the devotional service is very weak when we perform the devotional service. And it doesn't bring the desired result. So, in the third verse, 8, 9, 10, in the 10th verse, yes, Lord Kapila formulates it slightly different. Before that, he would say abhisandhaya, motivation. But here he says uddishya, the goal. What is the difference? If we were together in one room, I would probably ask your answers. What do you think is the difference between why Lord Kapila uses the different terminology? He means basically the same, motivation or goal. It's more or less the same, but still, for Tamagun and Rajagun, he uses motivation, abhisandhaya, and here he uses uddishya, the goal. Maybe somebody has some answer to this. What is the difference? Yes, Padmanabhan Prabhu.
What I see, Maharaj, is the one is process of attachment, another one is process of detachment.
Yeah, but what is the difference? Why he uses the different terminology, different word in describing the, he wants to explain the motivations of people in different modes of nature. And for tamaguna, for tamasic and rajasic people, he uses motivation, and for sattvic people, he uses the goal, the word goal.
For rajasic and tamasic people, Maharaj, what I understand is they are more self-oriented to be in the prime position for themselves.
Okay.
But someone in Sattva is karma nirharam uddishya. He wants to give up his attachment for these activities because he doesn't want any benefit for himself.
Okay. Sutapa Prabhu, what's your hypothesis?
I was going to say similar, but I was thinking that in tamasic and rajasic, the primary driving is something coming from inside oneself, but in sattvic, it's coming from a higher source, the God.
Mm-hmm. Very, very close to what I want to say. Yeah. Thank you. Nanda Kumar Prabhu?
Maybe because Maharaj, in Sattva Gun we can already see this goal.
Yeah.
In Rajas
Yeah.
and Tamas we cannot see.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. More or less. It's the difference is that in Rajas and Tamas, it's more subconscious. It's less conscious. There is not so much consciousness inside. It's just a very strong impetus which is coming from inside us, from our subconsciousness. Whereas Uddishya, the goal, is something little more clear, something little more conscious. This is my conscious goal, so to speak. So the idea here is that Sattvic people, they are more conscious. Whereas Tamasic and Rajasic people, they are less conscious. There is more element of subconsciousness influencing their decision or their performance of devotional service. So in Sattva Gun, you are performing with more conscious motivation. Your motives are more clear to yourself even. So that's, whereas in Tamas and Rajas, you may not even be aware of your hidden motives. You may very innocently think that you are performing pure devotional service, whereas the real motivation is coming from this sattvic and rajasic portion of your consciousness. So that's the thing. And so the three motivations in Sattva Guna is karma nirharam, karma tadarpanam, and yashtavyam. Three very important Sanskrit words. Karma nirharam means my motivation is that I myself want to be free from karma. I'm sick and tired. I know that all my sufferings is because of my karma, and I won't become free from karma. And actually, Krishna very often in Bhagavad Gita uses this motivation, inspires Arjuna to employ this motivation, because sattvic people, they are like this. They understand that I'm suffering here. Actually, this is a very important difference between sattvic people and tamasic and rajasic people, especially rajasic people. Rajasic people want more to enjoy. Sattvic people, they want more to be free from sufferings. These two motivations are there. This is basic, the foundational motivation of every human being. We want to enjoy and we want to be free from sufferings. But the more pure we are, the more this motivation to be free from suffering becomes strong, whereas the motivation to enjoy becomes subsidiary. Whereas in the lower stages of evolution of consciousness, the predominance of desire to enjoy is more. And people, they are ready to do anything to enjoy, even if they know that they will suffer at the end. Because the drive to enjoy is so strong. But sattvic people, they are much more wise, and they more want to be free from sufferings, and they're not ready to take enjoyment and pay the cost of suffering. So that's a very important difference. Again, these three motivations. First is karma nirharam. It's very clear, no need to explain it. We all know it. We're all sick and tired of our karma, and we want to give it to somebody else. If somebody is ready to take it, my dear spiritual master, here it is. Take it. So the second motivation is karma tadarpanam. It's very interesting. In Prabhupada's translation, this distinction may not be very clear, but it's very interesting what Kapila Dev says here. Tadarpanam means, I'm doing it for you, Krishna. Tad means Krishna, and Arpanam, I'm doing my karma for you. It basically means that I will do everything for you, and I will not ask you anything. But the intention is that, you still give something to me in exchange. It's much more subtle. We don't say, Krishna, give me enjoyment, Krishna, give me honor, Krishna, give me position, Krishna, give me power, or Krishna, destroy my enemies. We don't say this. We say, oh yeah, I will do this, but we don't have at the same time the positive desire to please the Lord by our act. Tadarpanam, I'm giving it to you, and the unspoken, intention behind this, the abhipraya, the unspoken abhipraya intention is that, I'm doing this for you. I'm not asking you anything, but you know better what I need. So please don't forget about me. There is anyway, I will not give this example. And the highest motivation, highest possible motivation is yashtavyam. Yashtavyam means I'm doing it because I have to do it, because this is my duty, because I know I'm the soul, I belong to you, and I have to do something, so I have to serve the whole. And this is the rule, yashtavyam. It has to be like this. It's the sense of duty. But basically, I am still indifferent to the Lord. I'm doing, if I need to do it, I will do it. If I have to do it, I will do it. And prithak bhava, the separate mentality, separatist mentality, or the mood, the separatist mood, prithak bhava, is that the desire for liberation is actual my goal. My goal is not to please the Lord. This is not my positive goal. My goal is to achieve liberation from sufferings, and I'm employing devotional service for this purpose, and this is what I'm doing. So that's this cheating mentality which deprives the acts of aropa-siddha-bhakti of its power. And we have to be really careful, and we really have to bring ourselves back into this consciousness. I'm doing it for the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Why do I chant? Why? What is the reason behind this? Because I want to please the Lord. Not because I want some enjoyment in exchange, or because I want to experience some enjoyment at the moment. Sometimes people say, I'm chanting so long, I'm not experiencing any enjoyment. Why? Srila Prabhupada cheated us. He said, chant and be happy. I chant and I am not getting happiness. Now, this is all cheating. This is all cheating mentality which is there. And even sattva guna is cheating. Therefore, it is said that in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the cheating mentality is totally dharma kaitava projita, kicked out from this book completely. And that basically means that all the commentators, they explain that praujita, pra-ujita, not just ujita, but pra-ujita means that including the motivation of liberation of sattva guna. So that's Sattva guna is also cheating because it's basically the separate mentality, the sense that I'm separated from the Lord and I'm not really connected with Him, and I don't care whether I'm connected or not. I have my separate desires for this. Okay, so we still have very important section before we finish, therefore I will rush a little bit. So nirguna, svarupa-siddha-bhakti, which is nirguna with pure motive, is described by Lord Kapila Dev in this verse, Madguna Shruti Matrina Mai Sarva Guhashaye Mana Manogatira Vichinna Yatha Gangam Baso Ambudho Lakshanam Bhakti Yoga Sya Nirgunasya Hyudahritam Ahaitukya Vyavahita Yo Bhakti Purushottame. And the next verse also is included into this description. So the Svarupa-siddha-bhakti, when it is nirguna, without gun, is called differently as akinchana-bhakti. Why it's called akinchana-bhakti? Not because it's performed by beggars who are akinchana, but because people who perform it don't want anything from the Lord. Akinchana means I don't want anything for myself, so I don't have any separate interest. Therefore, it is said, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavatir Akinchana. Akinchana doesn't mean that the bhakti performed by beggars, by paupers. No, it's the bhakti which I perform without expecting anything in return from this bhakti. Then only bhakti becomes pure. Then only bhakti becomes akinchana. Then only bhakti becomes nirguna. So basically, it's a conscious endeavor for us to perform bhakti without expecting anything from the Lord. Why I'm doing this? Because I want to please the Lord. Because Srila Prabhupada said, because my Guru Maharaj wants this. This is why I'm doing this. By my conscious endeavor, I'm fighting with these motivations which are there. They are there. But we can break this vicious circle by placing Krishna in the center. I'm doing it for Him. And therefore, we need Guru. Because we don't know whether Krishna is pleased with our service or not. And sometimes we're getting pleased by doing devotional service. Sometimes we're not pleased. But when our Guru is pleased, and that's visible and it's very clearly seen, then, we know we're doing something right. So that's... And actually, this is the meaning of parakiya bhav. Parakiya bhav means we're not expecting anything, because those who have illegal relationship with the lover, they don't expect anything from him. They don't claim, they don't demand anything from him. That's the inner meaning of parakiya bhav. Parakiya bhav doesn't mean illegal relationship. Parakiya means that I'm doing it just because for him, not because of any other motivation. I don't expect protection. I don't expect bangles. I don't expect jewelry. I don't expect saris in return of my devotion to my pati. I am doing it without this. This is actually the parakiya manjari bhav. Manjari, they don't expect anything from this. So the translation of these two verses, I will read how Srila Prabhupada translates them. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. So, very important few elements of purity of devotional service. When the devotional service becomes pure, first is Shruti Matrina. It's Tritiya Bhakti, instrumental case. Shruti Matrina. Matrina here means only. I don't have, when Madguna Shruti Matrina, Mai Sarva Guhashaye Manogatira Vichina. When I only want to hear, I don't have any other motivation. Shruti Matrina. I just like to hear about somebody whom I like, and I don't think, I'm hearing now and I don't thinking that, I hear now and then I will tell this to somebody else and they will be very happy with me. No, this is not the motivation. They just a little bit hearing immediately attracts my mind. And only hearing attracts my mind. When we love somebody, we love to hear about him. And we don't have any motivation. What is the motivation behind the hearing? The motivation behind the hearing is the desire to strengthen the relationship with somebody about whom I am hearing. That's the motivation. Why do I want to hear about Krishna? Because I want my relationship with him to become stronger. I already love him, I already have some relationship with him, but I know that by hearing about him, he becomes closer to me. Therefore, I'm hearing. That's why Hanuman is always listening Ramayana. That's why he's doing this all the time, because every time he hears, the relationship becomes more thick, more strong. Whereas in the same chapter, in 29th chapter, Kapila Dev explains the mixed sadhana, and the sadhana which technically belongs to this category of sanga-siddha-bhakti. And there he says, adhyatmika anushravanam. It's element of this sanga-siddha-bhakti. Shravanam is there. But it's specifically adhyatmika anushravanam. I'm hearing to understand the nature of my mind. I'm hearing to understand the nature of my soul. So we're hearing, but the motivation is to understand the distinction between the spirit and the matter. But here, I hear because I like to hear about the Madguna Shruti Matrina, the qualities of the Lord. That's what it is. No other motivation. So that's the first thing which is there. The motivation is very pure in this regard, because I just hear because I like to hear about the Lord. And the more I hear, the more connected I become with Him. And then Sarva Guhashaye, very important element of the whole thing. Sarva Guhashaye means that the Lord is within everyone's heart, and He is with my heart as well. And it basically means that that the motivation which impels me to hear is not coming from my material senses. Usually when we do something in this material world, we do because we have some previous experience of doing the same thing. And we have some samskaras, and the force which is accumulated in these samskaras pushes us to do the same thing again. But Krishna is not visible to us. He is hidden within the heart of living entities. Therefore, we don't have, in the beginning especially, the experience of dealing with Him. So we're not impelled by the experience which we achieved from our external senses. We impelled by the experience which we achieved internally by our relationship with God through the acts of devotional service. That's what it means. Sarva guhashaya. The impetus to do devotional service is coming from our internal experience, not from our external experience, which is motivated by our senses, by the pleasure of our senses. And then manogatir avichina, then the flow of our mind becomes unimpeded. There is no impediments to the flow of the mind as much as Ganga is flowing, and nobody can impede the flow of the Ganga. Ganga will come to the ocean. It basically means that there is no impediments to this. So basically, these elements, they describe these two things. The pure devotional service, ahaituki, there is no material hetu. There is no material motivation. Whether it is experience of my enjoyment or whatever. And avichinna or avyavahita, that means that nothing can really be impediment. You know, like sometimes people, you know, I'm dealing with one devotee, he says, "You're depriving me of my devotional service. Why you're not giving me the facilities for my devotional service? Why you're not giving me, why I cannot preach, why I cannot do this, I cannot do this." But, you know, pure devotional service, nobody, including GBC, can deprive you of pure devotional service. If you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. All this external, whatever is forbidden for you, it's not really the problem. If you think that you cannot do devotional service, something is wrong with your devotional service, with your understanding of devotional service, because the pure devotional service, by definition, does not have any external impediments. Nothing external can stop us. And this is explained in the second verse of these two. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya hyudahritam ahaituki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. Ahaituki avyavahita. So basically that's it. And then this next verse, which we just read, it answers two doubts, or dissipates two doubts. How it is ahaituki, no material causeless, because the listening about the qualities of the Lord gives such a pleasure to the soul that we don't need anything else. And avyavahita means that that actually mind can touch the Lord directly. Or the soul can touch the Lord directly if the soul is completely purified. So therefore, internally, there is no external impediments cannot stop the devotional service. The pure mind, when it becomes pure because of devotional service, it achieves the quality of reflective ability to reflect the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, and therefore we are in direct contact with the Lord by the act of devotional service on the highest stages of devotional service, and therefore it becomes avyavahita, ahaituki and avyavahita. That's basically it. And the verse number 13 basically illustrates the purity of devotional service, where Kapila Dev says, Salokya Sarsi Samipya Sarupya aikatvam apyuta diyamanam na grihnanti vinamatsevanam janaha. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sarshti, samipya, sarupya, and ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So if it is an impediment for the service, devotee does not accept it, and that's basically the proof of the purity of pure devotional service, or nirguna bhakti, or the power of nirguna bhakti, which let us hope to achieve one way or another by associating with pure devotees. So that's the ideal and the hope which we have, and the description of the reality of our heart, which has different motivations, and they are like worms which suck the energy. Like if we have in our intestines some worms, then the food which we take does not give us enough energy and nourishment. In the same way, we do devotional service, but because of these worms which are sucking all the energy and all the nourishment from devotional service, deprives us the results of pure devotional service. That's it. We still have 1 minute to answer all your questions. So, Rishi Kumar Prabhu, you have your hand up.
Maharaj, thank you very much. It has been really nourishing. The lecture, this whole seminar has been nourishing, just like the topics you discussed. My question was regarding the three motivations in goodness. And he said, karma niraram, karma tadarpanam, and yastavyam. Regarding yastavyam, the first thing that came to my mind, and I just cross-checked, is 17th verse of Ishopanishad, where the devotee, the jiva says that, O Lord, enjoyer of sacrifice and ultimate beneficiary, please remember all my sacrifices. Please remember all that I have done for you. And so it's actually Jnana Mishra Bhakti.
Yeah, it's karma tadarpanam. It's karma tadarpanam. That's the motivation of karma tadarpanam. Please remember whatever I've done for you.
We will, Maharaj.
Okay. Yes, Padmanayan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
In regard to interpreting this in the mood of Paratya Bhav, what you explained, that is a kind of commentary from Jiva Goswami in this section. I mean to say, while he is discussing about these three types of...
No. I definitely read it somewhere, but I no, it's not in this section in Bhakti Sandarbha. But basically, that's the idea behind what paraki is bhava, and bhava means we have to this bhava. When we have svakiya basically means some relationship of duty. You enter into some relationship, and this relationship makes you duty bound. Any relationship, if they're legal, they make you duty bound. But illegal relationship, they don't have this element of having a duty because they're illegal, and therefore there's no duty. It's only bhav. So that's, but it's not in this section of Bhakti Sandarbha. Okay, I guess that's it. We are done.
Sabyasachi Prabhu asked a question on chat.
Huh?
Sabyasachi Prabhu asked a question on chat.
Okay, Sabyasachi Prabhu asked the questions on chat. Let me see the chat. Is it possible for someone who is still in the material body to perform aropa-siddha-bhakti exclusively? It's obviously possible. Because, like for example, if I have the consciousness of being a paraphernalia of my Lord. I'm your servant, my dear Lord. I'm your instrument. And whatever I'm doing just to be the better instrument. If this consciousness is very clearly and purely established within our heart, I'm worshiping the deity. And I don't have any separate consciousness whatsoever. I'm just, a paraphernalia of the worship of the Lord. Then whatever I do is Svarupa-siddha-bhakti. Because whatever I do, even if I eat, of course I eat the remnants of the Lord, I sleep, I brush my teeth, but I'm doing it as a part of my archana. It's not becoming just the brushing of the teeth like sanga-siddha-bhakti or karma or aropa-siddha-bhakti. It's becoming part of my archana, my service to the Lord. So it's possible, but it's not, it's not cheap. But it is possible.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Further to this, Maharaj, actually yesterday, day before yesterday, you said that there are two axes. On one axis we have these three acts which are the forms of the devotional service. On the other axis are the attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see this Swarup-siddha and aropa-siddha and sanga-siddha, they are primarily referring to the act per se, because this axis has only the forms.
Yeah.
Whereas the other axis has attitude. So when we say that one person is performing, say, brushing teeth simply to please the Lord.
Yeah, if this attitude is high, it becomes Swarup, it basically becomes, you may call it Swarup-siddha-bhakti, although formally you may call it like sanga-siddha-bhakti, but in reality it will be on this highest level. Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your time and attention.